JJM Leadership Foundation.
Good day and welcome to JJM Leadership Foundation podcast. We hope to empower you to your greatness. Meet our guest in the next podcast. See you on the other side.
JJM Leadership. JJM Leadership. JJM Leadership Foundation.
Hello everybody, let me take this time just to welcome you into another episode of Leadership Podcast at JJM Leadership Foundation. Thank you so very much for making time. We always appreciate you. We appreciate your feedback in whatever we do. In order for us to receive your feedback, don't forget to participate and write to us on that comment box. And make sure that we are receiving your comments, we are receiving your views, we are also receiving what you think. Yes, what you think is important for us, what you are thinking, it is very, very important for us. But the other thing that you can also do for us, for now, as we wait for others, I want you to also share, share this post so that others are able to join us. In that regard, make sure that you are sharing this post with other people that you believe can also benefit out of this podcast. I want you to do that because I believe that at JJM Leadership Foundation, we are changing people's destiny and we are also changing their narrative in terms of leadership. So, before I start with my topic for the day, today I'm going to take it very, very easy, but I also want you to be a reflection, to look at my leadership reflection and some of the things that I am going to do. At the end of the day, I'm going to make sure that I share with you about 5 things, right? 5 things. I'm going to share with you those 5 things that I believe will also help you to reflect on your leadership and also reflect on where you are. It could be in your organization. It could be wherever you are placed, wherever God has placed you. So that way you are able to reflect in terms of your leadership and also look at how you can also improve. Is that okay? But before we do that, please, I want you to share this post. It doesn't kill, it doesn't harm. I want you to share this post so that people can also benefit out of it. And if you can, I also want you to tag 2, just only 2. Who is that person that you think must participate in this one? The first one, you tag them. The second one, you tag them. And then chances are they are also going to come through. And if you can, and if you've got the energy to do it, you can also copy the link and also share it within some of the groups that you belong, and those groups who you believe can also benefit out of this content. Those 3 things. But the other thing that you can also do is that we've got an email on the bottom of the screen. If you want to write to us and you want to invite us, you want to invite our team to come and join you and in training some of your leaders. It could be in a church setup. It could be in a non-profit organization. We can come and train your teams. So please don't hesitate to talk to us. Don't hesitate to invite us, because we believe that whatever we do here, it is something that other people can also benefit out of it. Is that okay? So allow me today, as I said, I'm going to be reflecting on certain things that are happening within our country. And for those that are watching us outside of the country, I want you to just follow my story as I'm going to be reflecting in terms of where we are as a nation and what are the challenges that we may be going through. And I'm going to move from politics. I'm going to move into sports. I'm going to move into church. And then from there, I'm going to share with you only 5 things that I know you can also use to reflect on your leadership and also improve. Is that okay? So when we come here, we always believe that we give you exercises, we give you things that can help you to become a better person, because if we don't do that, it means we are not giving you tools in which you can use to become, to grow yourself or to grow your own leadership. I was looking at our May Day. For those who know, the 1st of May, it's the Workers' Day. We call it May Day here in South Africa. And of course, it could be, a very universal holiday or a universal day to the rest of the world. So we saw something in one of the rallies. Of course, in our country, you know that there were many rallies across the provinces, but there was one, in Northwest, where the president of South Africa wanted to go and celebrate with the workers. And one of the reasons, for those who don't know, why the president will go there in that event, it is because of I will call it the marriage of convenience, which they have in terms of your SACP, the ANC, and also COSATU, which leads the Labour Federation, or which is the Labour Federation. So those three entities, those three organizations, most of the time they will come together, they will arrange a program where they will come and advocate the issues of the workers. But at the point where the president went into Northwest, it was the time where in that mining belt there was a 2-month strike that is led by AMCO. And of course, in our country, you know that the principle of no work, no pay, it's so real and it applies. So you may find in some way that some of the employees that were sitting there in that stadium, chances are they've not been receiving a salary for the past month or so. But the reality of the matter is somehow there is a problem in the private sector. But, because of this marriage of convenience, there is an expectation from, should I say, from the unions who are hoping that you need to be resolving some of our challenges wherever we are. You need to be resolving some of those challenges wherever we are. So the president was expected to have resolved those issues. But you can also understand that in our country, it is also difficult because the problem that we're forcing the government to resolve, it could be the challenges that are sitting with the private sector. So somehow there is an expectation that the government or the ANC or the SACP must be able to talk to those private sector to resolve the challenges that are at play. Is that okay? So the president could not speak in that May Day I can't say for the first time, because in other experiences, the president was only booed and he could not, it was difficult for him to speak in those meetings. I want to say, but for this one, recent one, the president had to leave, the stadium, and somehow that left, I think, it's a bitter taste, or it's a reflection in terms of where the organization is. It's a reflection in terms of where the president is with his counterparts. You will understand that most of the provinces now, they are holding their provincial elections from Mpumalanga, Eastern Cape, and other provinces. And yes, in that environment, the ANC had also placed some of its key leaders to come in that space to make sure that somehow we're restoring the confidence, and the branches we're making sure that they have become functional in those provinces, so that at least they can also go into the elections and vote for their own preferred leader. So these are the things. This is the narrative where we are today. This is where you and I are finding ourselves. On the other side, the Red Berets, if we look just from afar, coming from the local government elections, yes, in other municipalities, they did not do well as compared to the previous elections, right? So what they did is that they disbanded some of their structures, and they've put some of their key leaders in other provinces, including Limpopo. So in those areas, they needed to make sure that they are cementing their presence, and they are making sure that they work very hard to make sure that they correct the challenges which they have politically. So I don't know what it means in terms of our politics, because when you look at almost every organization, they seem to be struggling in terms of the branches. And this is one of the things that you can also try to look at as a leader. You can also try to reflect upon as a leader. I'm just going to put this as a case study somewhere there, hoping that you will also be able to reflect on it. I think we heard in the past week that one of the great institutions of soccer in South Africa there have been a struggle. If we start from the institution of Kaizer Chiefs, which is one of those top clubs in Africa, we look at Orlando Pirates. Some of these teams are struggling heavily, and somehow there have been a lot of changes in terms of their leaders, in terms of the coaches. That has been happening in that environment. How can I forget, the great Jomo Sono, the man who in our country we're always proud of because of what he has done in his playing days, but in his team, no one ever thought that team will move from our Premier League into the first division, and now we don't even know where it is going, and because they've been relegated recently. So the question is, what could be the leadership lessons that we find out of that institution because somehow that institution did not just experience failure immediately, but it was a gradual failure. But what could be the lessons that you as a leader, you can also be able to reflect upon? I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to go further, but I want you to be thinking about this. So as I give you these scenarios, as I give you these case studies, I also want you to think about where you are as a leader. I want to look again where I want to look at this one as well. You will remember that during COVID, during our lockdown, the first lockdown, 2020 in March, churches, there have been a struggle in terms of whether we should go back to church or we shouldn't. But you will remember that I think the ZCC since then, they have never met. They only, I think, started meeting this year in March, end of April, when they announced that they are going to return into their settings. But for us, the charismatic and the independent churches, we were never in support of these church closures. There have been marches, there have been protests where we were trying to work against that. And somehow, when we look at that, as a church, there's a lot of casualties that we can also count, that we lost some of the great men during this period. Whether we want to blame it on the leadership directive in terms of what we took at that time, I don't want to make that conclusion. But what I want to say to you, it is a scenario that has happened in our country. The church, in the church, there were people who were advocating for, they were pro-closure of the churches, and some of them were against that. So I want to say, when you look at it, what could be the lesson learned that you can also try and reflect as a nation? So that, I've painted all these scenarios because I want you to understand that as leaders, we cannot, we should not be blindfolded and forget about what is happening within our own environment. I have given you, and I mean, you go, I think we can go even into the mining industries. Why do we find companies being on a strike for 2 months? How do we find companies being on a strike for three months? And that somehow it is a reflection of our current crop of leaders. And somehow I want to believe that it is a lesson learned, and it is something that as leaders we can be able to deal now and also in the future. So I want you to reflect on those scenarios. Some of them, they could be very close from where you are. Some of them, they could be very far. But I want you to reflect on that. But the best way of reflecting into a leadership reflection is to look at the following 5 things that I'm going to share with you. I'm not going to take your time, but I'm hoping that you will be able to learn something and that takes you to the other level. The first thing that I want you to do as a leader, I want you to champion or to craft your destiny. I want you to champion the path of your destiny. It is important as an organization, as a leader. The question is, do you know where you're going? And that is why if you don't know where you're going, you must understand that every road will lead you there. Write that on the comment box. If you don't know where you're going, every road will lead you there. So as a leader, you must know where you're going. You must understand the direction that you want to take. You must understand the value that you want to portray out there. And that is why, because as a leader, if you are going to to have a particular vision, you're going to have a particular directive. It is therefore becomes your responsibility to share that vision with those that are following you, to share that vision with your team members, to share that vision within your organization, so that it become as clear as possible. It was the Bible in the book of Habakkuk which says, write the vision down and make it clear, right? You need to write the vision down and make it clear. When the vision is clear, it will be easier for people to run with it. One of the reasons why you're struggling with your teams, you're struggling within your organization, it is because the vision is not clear. People are not sure if we are going west or we're going south. People are not sure if we want to do these things or we're not sure about it. So it is therefore important as a leader that you need to be very clear. Paint a picture of tomorrow. Paint a future picture of where the organization is going. And of course, in this platform, we spoke about how to set up those clear goals, that your goals must be realistic, your goals must be smart. And we shared that because we want you to understand that you don't just go and create havoc because of the appetite that you have in terms of dreaming. So it's important. As a leader, you need to paint, the future. You need to paint the destination where we're going. So I want you to ask yourself this question: where are we going? I want you to ask that question again in the comment box. Where are we going? As an organization, as leaders in societies, where are we going? Because if we do that, we will be able to move forward in strength and also in courage. Is that okay? Number 2, very quickly, I want you to make sure that you make an impression. As a leader, it is your responsibility to make an impression. An impression, it means to appeal. An impression, it means to be appetizing. Whatever you do must be able to attract those that are following you and those that are that wishes to follow your leadership. It must be appetizing. I have seen a lot of people, and I remember recently I was talking to one member in my team, and one of the things that we discussed was it was around the issue of performance, and we said that it is possible for a person to perform on a technical aspect, but forget ethics, and forget ethics. Did you hear that? So you cannot. There's no way that if you want to succeed in life, the areas where you are around your surrounding should be, should have a lot of graves of other people that died in your presence because you have this quest of success. Your success, your desire to succeed must not be at the expense of other people. Your desire to succeed must not be at the expense of what? Of other people. But your desire to succeed must be positioned in a manner that we are able to see as an organization that we are moving forward. When we say that as a leader, you must make an impression, we are saying you must be appealing. Whatever you do, you must be appealing. That is why you will find that in our world of today, in our society of today, there are other people that they do not have the values that you shared, but they are appealing to the society where they are. You know why? That way, it makes them to be as close as possible to their constituency. So that is very, very important. I said to you, you need to make an impression. Number 3, I want you to make sure that you be the change, right? Most of the time in organization, in churches, we want people to change. We can preach about them changing their behavior, them changing, how they portray themselves. But we who are leaders, at some point, we are not changing. We are not the change. Change, sometimes, it is easier to observe. If we are looking for a change of behavior, that is why, I have learned that more is caught than it is taught. So it is important, ladies and gentlemen, that as leaders, we must be able to emulate. We must be able to, to present the way our leadership should look like. It is very important. It is very, very important. We should be able to do that. I want to just conclude, by the last one, to say leaders must be able to build relationship. Leaders must be able to build relationship. You cannot be a leader who is not building relationship. That is very, very important. A leader must be able to do what? To build relationship. You must be able to do what? To build relationship. As a leader, you must be able to build relationship. That is why we normally say your network, your network determines your network. Without your network, you don't build on a network. You want to work in silos. You want to work in an island. You think you can do all these things by yourself. You must know, be rest assured, you're just going to fail. You are just not going to succeed, because in the world of today, you need somebody that knows someone that can open a door for you. So you need a very clear, you need to be very, very clear in terms of the direction that you need to take and the people that you need to bring into your space. Even when you look into your Bible, there was a time where, Moses, you will know, he was trying to do everything in his kind of leadership until his father-in-law said to him, Moses, this thing is going to kill you. You're going to go into your early grave if you don't put things in order. And I remember at some point, ladies and gentlemen, attending one of the events, and I was with one of my mentor, Charlie Masala, and it happened some years back. Bishop Kenneth Alma was speaking with leaders, with pastors in that space. And one of the things that he said was that as a leader, you need to learn to trust others. As a leader, you must learn to trust others, because if you don't trust others, therefore it means you cannot be trusted too. Yes, people have been disappointed. Yes, you also have disappointed other people, but there must be that willingness to be able to trust others. You must build relationship. Number 5, as a leader, you must also learn to be calm. One of the things that you must understand is that every storm will naturally pass. Because sometimes we want to be chasing every barking dog and thinking that we will be able to succeed as a leader. No. A leader must be able to be calm in the middle of the storm. You remember Jesus at the time when he was crossing the sea with his disciples, and the Bible says there was a mighty wind that came. There was a wind that came, and at that time Jesus was asleep. And the disciples, they were so frightened. They did not understand how can Jesus go and rest in the middle of the storm. A leader must be able to do that. Because one thing that I want to just remind you about the storm is that a storm is not there forever. It is not, our world is not created to have storms forever. Storms, they come and pass. They are like a season. So one of the things that I have seen most of the time in our leadership, it's when we focus, we put all of our energy into the storm. But a leader must be able to drink a chill pill and allow certain things to pass. I want you to reflect on your leadership this week, ladies and gentlemen, by saying, are you leading or are you moving towards the direction of your dream as a leader? Are you leading that team in the best way possible? Are you leading that organization in the best way possible? Let me repeat those 5 things that I said you need to use to reflect on your leadership. Number 1, we said a leader must paint the direction that they need to take as a team. Leader must be able to paint that direction. Number 2, we also agreed that a leader must be able to build relationships. That is very important. You cannot be a leader without relationships. Number 3, a leader must make an impression. There must be something that draws people closer to you. There must be something that draws people to come in your own space, something that appeals to people, because you cannot be a leader that is not appealing and you think that you're going to grow and become the best in life. Number 4, we said a leader must be able to be the change. You cannot expect people to change. You cannot expect the world to change. You yourself are not changing. You cannot teach things that are not impacting you. So as a leader, you must be the change that you need. Do you feel that things are not moving towards the right direction where you are? If the answer is yes, Maybe you need to be that change. Maybe you are that stumbling block. Maybe you are that thing that is making your organization not to move forward. And the last thing, a leader must learn to be calm. A leader must know that every storm will also pass. Every dog that barks, we don't need to give it an attention. We know where the attention must go because we are leaders. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for making time to come into our leadership podcast. We are hoping that there is one thing that you have learned tonight that you are able to pick up into your next journey. As leaders in politics, in churches, in corporate, I'm hoping there is that one thing that you have picked up for yourself. God bless you and meet you at the top where you belong.